Hello fellow humans and welcome to the Madhouse. I'm Josh and today is a review of A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Or Schwab, it still sounds wrong. Now I'll draw your attention to this here because I spent an hour and a half drawing that last night, so I'm really pleased with myself. Given that I can barely write in English without it looking like it's in Chinese, that is impressive. Now anyway, on to the book. I have been looking forward to this for some time. I've heard only good things on BookTube and the book blogs that I follow, and a few of my friends as well. But here are my musings and thoughts on the book. I had very high hopes for this, and for the most part I was not disappointed in the slightest. I know it's typical to mention the plot in reviews first, but I have to mention the magic and the setting before I mention the plot, or it will make no sense. The magic system was impressive and quite fascinating. The idea of Antari is interesting, and I'll go into more detail about those later on. And also how the magic was tuned into the blood, while not a new idea, its execution was fantastic, because most of the time blood magic tends not to do any damage to the person who cuts themselves, slits their wrist to do it, which makes no sense, surely. They're losing a lot of blood, they would have injuries and complications, and this covers that. Magic is some sort of living entity. I'm not going to say a creature because it doesn't get up and walk around of its own accord. Well, kind of. But it is gripping and quite unusual. Magic is seen as a corrupting force, and the stone and its powers were actually scary. It's not often I find a book that can frighten me, but this one did it. I mean, that's not to say I was cowering behind the cushions of the sofa like I would with Doctor Who as a child, but it was a little unsettling. Now, no mention of this book would be complete without mentioning the setting. It is so richly developed. I love it. It's obviously where Schwab's skills truly come to the fore. I don't think I've ever encountered a book where the setting is more integral to the story, and I've only ever encountered one series where the setting is better developed and better described, which would be the Long Earth series by Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter, which is very good and I recommend you go and read it, but more on that another time. I will probably be doing a review on The Long Utopia when that comes out in June. I mean, the ideas of an alternate version of a city or hidden worlds within cities are nothing new in fiction, certainly not, but they're usually part of science fiction, whereas this is firmly planted within fantasy, and also slightly historical because Grey London, which you'll hear about in a moment, is our London during the reign of Mad King George III. Now this functions nicely as a segue onto the descriptions of the Londons. Grey London, our London, next to no magic, ruled by him. Then there is Red London, where magic and mankind exist quite harmoniously, and it's the home of the protagonist, Kel, which reminds me that well, I could say secondary protagonist, but some people might also say sidekick, Lila, comes from Grey London.
Lila comes from Grey London. I hope it's Lila. Her name is Delilah, so Lila would make sense, but Lila is also possible. Except I don't like Lila. Lila is not bad, but that's usually spelled with a Y. It's not.
There is White London, where all of the magic is leeching the life out of, well, everything. It's a dark, brutal world where strength reigns supreme. And last but not least is Black London, which you don't get to see in the book because all we know about Black London is that it's fucking creepy. It destroyed itself about 3 centuries before this book begins. But not only did it destroy itself, it destroyed its entire world along with it. Although there are some hints about the second book involving Black London in more depth, so I'm quite looking forward to that. I mean, each of the cities described in this novel are all wonderfully crafted. Each one of them is unique. Grey London really does feel like a Georgian city at the cusp of an industrial revolution, but also strangled under the yoke of a madman and a regency. Red London, the markets there sound like paradise, and it's a very beautiful city. and I'd like to visit, but the one that really fascinated me was White London. It's a rotting corpse of a city, reminiscent of Westeros in its brutality, and I really want to explore further. There was such a real sense of being there, which is so rare. Now, as for the plot, I will keep it brief because I don't want to give away any spoilers. There will be a little message about spoilers coming up, about how to get more information if you want it, but I don't want to provide spoilers for everyone, you see. Essentially, the main character, Kel, is one of a very rare group of magicians who can travel between the alternate Londons. He's a messenger between the monarchs, because when they were sealed off because of Black London, the only thing allowed to pass between them was letters between kings and queens. And it's going fine, but on the side, Kel is a smuggler. And while making one of his deliveries, he is given an artifact which proves to be rather dangerous, and he ends up on the run for his life, and had to go and hide in Grey London, where he encounters Delilah, who is a thief and pickpocket with dreams of becoming a pirate queen. Together they go on a rather interesting adventure. It's a truly fantastic novel. It's got an interesting cast of characters, and I love the siblings in King and Queens. They're fascinating, and it's a break from the usual fancy trope that you find, where when you have two siblings ruling a kingdom or whatever, one of them tries to destroy the other one so that they can rule alone. They don't do that, and it's refreshing. I mean, I did half expect him to... No, I'm not going to do that one, that would be a spoiler. This video is going to be spoiler free. If you do want information, you can go to my blog post, which has a more full review on it, which is not spoiler free, and it has a lot more in-depth analysis as well. To be honest, the only flaw I can find with this book is its characterization. If I hadn't read a review confirming this or done my research to know that when Schwab writes as V.E. Schwab instead of Victoria, she's writing an adult novel, I would have thought this was young adult. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with young adult, I'm a big fan of it, but the distinction between young adult and adult is that a child should have no problem understanding YA. It's not supposed to be as complex. It can be just as heartbreaking and fun and exciting and adventurous, but there tends to be a little less development in characters. If this was a YA novel, I wouldn't be saying this right now. It would be absolutely fantastic and I'd have no problem. But the point is, it isn't. It's an adult novel, and I expected so much more development in Kel's and Lila's personalities, and some explanation as to how I think Ree is how one says it, is how he is, and how their relationship got to be as strong as it is. It's the only problem there. I mean, one of the most developed characters in it is one you don't even see for very long. But if that doesn't bother you, then this book is absolutely perfect. It's not particularly graphic, nor does it require a philosophy degree for you to understand it. It's merely a lot of good fun. It is such an intriguing concept, and when it comes to the worlds themselves, it's flawless in its execution. The connection between Kel and Ree is heartwarming, and overall I'd say the book is truly magical. That's why I would rate it as 4 out of 5 stars, and from my own personal rating system, I would also rate it as 3 dragons for conforming to fantasy tropes, because it does still have the magic and the sorcery and some form of blood magic, but it does break beyond that. If you want more information and more in-depth analysis about this, I am of course willing to give it. So the remainder of this review will be posted in text form on my blog. The link is here and in the description below. So anyway then, thank you for watching. Please click like and subscribe, and share this video if you want. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on this book, or if you wanted to read it. And remember, for more information, check out my blog. I shall leave you then with the last line from this book. That one will do. Bye!